Morning, friends. Thank you, Ty, and thank you all for being here. This morning I wanted to talk about overwhelm. We often find ourselves overwhelmed by situations, by life as a whole, and I wanted to talk about that. I recently listened to a Dharma talk by a monk in the Theravadan tradition. It was deeply inspired by his words and sat in reflection and decided to talk about that because we find ourselves in a moment globally and also nationally where we may feel overwhelmed, and we may feel overwhelmed just by our daily lives. So I'd like to talk about that. I also put together a little PowerPoint just to lighten it a little bit. So I will be sharing that. So let's see if I can make technology work. Let's see here. Sorry, just a moment. It appears that this thing is kind of in my way. There we go. Okay. Okay, can you see this, everyone? Oh, super, thank you. So managing overwhelm. I wanted to talk about this. It's serendipitous that Joe asked a question about mindfulness. We're going to be digging into a lot of mindfulness practices, in particular how to employ mindfulness when we feel overwhelmed, or how to prevent overwhelm. So we're going to be kind of digging into that this morning. So I'd like to start with the first one here. So when we feel overwhelmed, or we begin to feel overwhelmed, what's the first step, or what could be the first step from my perspective is don't panic, don't freak out. If you've ever read the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, it's a theme throughout the book. Don't panic. So don't panic. Employ the practices that you learn here. Take a deep breath, slow down, and employ any calming techniques that you have developed. When we begin to panic, it's easy to fall into anxiety as well as worry. When we worry, we tend to overthink things. So try and remind yourself of the Buddhist teachings, that nothing is permanent, that everything is subject to change. And remind yourself that you won't always feel this way. You won't feel overwhelmed forever. By doing this, we slow down, we stop. We do one thing at a time. We try to avoid implementing multiple tasks. So remember, slow down and just take a beat and do one thing at a time. This leads into the second thing is slowing down. Simplify, minimize. If you can, try and reflect on why is it that you're feeling overwhelmed. What are the triggers that are coming up that are contributing to your overwhelm? Do you have too many activities going on? Have you committed to too many social engagements? Perhaps you're consuming too much media. Maybe you're watching too much television, playing on your phone too much. What is it that you're taking on that is too much? Are you multitasking? Can you minimize your amount of multitasking? So ask yourself a series of gentle questions. Are there a few things in your day that you could let go of that would potentially free you up for time so that you can spend that time in silent reflection? There may be little things. Can I wake up an hour earlier? Instead of turning on the news in the morning, can I not do that? Can I not turn on the news in the morning? So what are the things that you can trim down in your day and start small? I put a warning here at the bottom. Try not to overthink this. Try not to let this become a contributor of your overwhelm. Remember, we're not trying to completely solve everything. We're trying to implement mindfulness into what it is that we are doing, right? So try not to overthink it too much. Build a routine. Implement discipline. When we lack discipline or structure in our lives, we often feel ungrounded, and that can contribute to a lot of stress. When I became a monk, I implemented a great deal of structure and discipline to my day-to-day life. And I'll tell you, it has changed how I navigate my life, and for the good. So how can you implement a little bit of discipline? Not a ton, just a little bit. When we feel like we don't have a routine or a lack of structure, we can kind of feel like we're running around flailing. And that's super exhausting. It can zap you of your energy. So by adding some order to your day, you can begin to feel more grounded and more kind of connected with what it is that you're doing. Cleaning, for example. So here are some examples of things that you can integrate into your day-to-day that might help. Perhaps setting a bedtime or a wake-up time. Something that you can be fairly consistent with. Okay, I want to be in bed by 10:30, or I want to wake up at 6:30. And try and be fairly consistent with that. Of course, it can be flexible on maybe half an hour or an hour on either end, if you need more rest, or perhaps you don't need more rest. So feel free to be flexible in that, but this may help build a little structure. Another terrific one is trying to eat around the same time each day. Trying to have breakfast and lunch around the same time, dinner as well. Trying to avoid eating too late in the day can also be helpful. I've also put a little caveat here at the bottom. Remember to be flexible. It's okay to have it be a little loose, but relative structure can be really, really helpful. Coming back to our structure, right, can be really helpful to adjust and review. Maybe it's not working. So after a couple of weeks of doing what you have integrated into your life, take some time and reflect on it to see if there's anything that needs adjustment. Perhaps you've been a little too loose and flexible with yourself. Maybe you've been overly strict. So are there things that you can kind of maybe tighten up if you're being too loose? Are there things that you could maybe let go of? So what are the things that need adjustment? Other things. Are you overcommitting to social events? Are you saying yes too much? That can happen. It's really fun to go to things. It's really fun to be invited to things. But sometimes, we need to trim down. Am I spending too much money? Am I spending too much time? Do I feel exhausted? So ask yourself these very simple questions. And take time to reflect on this and adjust as needed. Everyone's going to be different. And once you adjust, try that for a couple of weeks and revisit it later to see if it needs further adjustment. Lastly, the most difficult one to integrate into our lives to help overcome feeling overwhelmed is asking for help. Remember that you're not alone. As the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh once said, we are here to awaken from the illusion of separateness. Remember that there is always someone with you. You can phone a friend, you could reach out to a loved one, you could talk with your therapist or a trusted Sangha member. It's okay to ask for help. As a matter of fact, this can help calm you down when you're feeling overwhelmed, just by simply having someone listen and to validate and acknowledge that what it is that you're experiencing is real and okay. This can be done at any time. And I want to remind you that this is a skill. This is a skill that needs to be developed mindfully, especially for those that may have been brought up in an environment where that was not encouraged. So remember, it takes effort to ask for help, and it's a great gift to yourself. It's also a great gift to the person that you ask help to. You get to provide a service to that person that they get to be in service to you. So remember that asking help isn't only beneficial to yourself, it's also beneficial to the person that gets to have the privilege of serving you. And then finally, I just want to remind you, take a nice deep breath every once in a while. When you're going through your day, take deep breaths, slow down. This can be done when you're driving, somebody cuts you off, take a deep breath. You're eating lunch, turn your phone off, put it away. Close your computer. If you're at work, step away and go into a lunchroom or go outside and sit under a tree. But take a breath. If you're sitting at lunch at work and somebody says something rude, take a breath. Remember, all of these things can be curbed with being mindful of where you are and how you're feeling. So this is my little demonstration. I'm going to stop sharing now. I wanted to share this because it's something that every single one of us encounters. No matter who we are, we encounter things that can feel big, especially globally. I also want to bring it back to Buddhism very pointedly. There will always be things that will stir us up. Storms will occur, right? Emotional storms, physical storms, our health will deteriorate as the five remembrances remind us. We will grow older, we will get sick, and we will die. And that's if we're lucky. A lot of us don't have the privilege to grow old and get sick and die. A lot of us die young. So remember that these things will take place. And so in that storm that arises, remember that these simple practices can be employed to hopefully help us stay calm in the midst of a storm. We don't have to be swept away with the winds and the rain. Instead, we can sit quietly and observe that the storm will pass. It will pass. And we don't have to become devastated by its devastation. So these are my words for this morning. Thank you for listening. I'd love to open it up for questions and dialogue, thoughts and perspectives. So please feel free to jump right in.
Brother River, I love your bit there about not panicking. Um, I took a very different approach with my daughter when she was a teeny little kid, way back when she would actually listen to me. And if, if anything arose that was like a big challenge or overwhelm to her, I would always tell her, make sure the first thing you do is panic. And we kind of made a joke out of it. So like if she ever came to me and said, oh, such and such happened, and I'd say, okay, what's the first thing you did? And she'd say, I panicked. I remembered. And I did so, obviously not to promote her to panic, but to poke fun at it. Because I don't know that you can stop panic by willfully telling yourself not to panic, But if you kind of view it as something that's okay and humorous, and it's okay, I checked that off, I got the panic out of the way, time to move on, maybe then that kind of liberates you from the panic digging its teeth into you too much. So it's just been kind of a running joke between the two of us to this day. It's like if something happens, oh, yeah, I almost, got run over crossing the street. And I said, oh, what's the first thing you did? She'll always say, oh, I panicked, I remembered. So kind of had fun with that.
I love that. Thank you, Reverend Scott. That's adorable. Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions, perspectives, anything at all?
Brother River, thank you so much for your talk this morning. And thank you for your fun and very clever PowerPoint.